Diva Dialogue, a talk show where we cover topics about healing from addiction to getting rid of your zits. If feeling passionate about something we're talking about, give us a call on our call-in number, 989-402-5414, so you can talk with our coach, Deb, who's been coaching for 6 years. Without further ado, here's our host, Deb.
Hello, and welcome to Diva Dialogue. It's a change in seasons, and I hope that means a change in you. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, change. You know, Mother Earth knows herself so well. During certain times of the year, she sheds her leaves and prunes her trees and through wind and rain and freezes everything so that it comes back healthier next time. We have a guest today who's going to be with us, and I've only spoken to her once, but she's very warm-hearted and lovely, and I welcome Hazel to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, and you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Another Monday to start a fantastic week.
That's right. So, please pronounce your last name, Palache?
It's Palache.
Palache. Okay, I tried to make it French. What is your last name? What nationality?
It's actually Spanish-Portuguese.
Ah, Palache. Okay, that's a good name. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Hazel, would you please?
Well, what would you like to know first? I don't really know where to start when somebody says, tell me about yourself.
Okay, I'll ask you more specific questions then, okay?
I think that from what I remember of our conversation, I am 75. I've been in business for over 25 years. I'm a certified coach, a clinical hypnotherapist, a best-selling author, and a motivational speaker. And I am now, or have in the last 6 months, started another business. And people tell me that I'm out of my mind. Why don't I retire? And my answer always is, why would I want to do that? I'd go out of my mind. I have 2 grown children, 6 grandchildren. I live in Los Angeles. And truthfully, I love the life I have. And I'm not quite sure how much further I can go than that, unless you ask me some very specific questions.
I will ask you some very specific questions. So, I think that fall is a time of change and growth and shedding the old to bring on the new in the spring, but it takes time to go through that. So here you are, 75 years old, and you're not afraid of growth and change. Why is that, Hazel?
Well, if you'd have asked me the question when I was in my 30s, I would have said, oh, my God, no, I can't make changes. However, in 1974, I'm sure everybody can hear from my accent that I'm not from America. I'm actually originally from London, England. But in 1974, together with a husband and 2 children, we left the UK and went to live in Vancouver. And in 1976, we went back to the UK because we decided we didn't like living in Vancouver, and stayed there another 2 years, and then in 1979, I think it was, and I'm a little vague on the years, so don't hold me to that exactly, we came here to live in America. And after 6 years of living here, I decided that after 25 years, I could no longer stay married to the same man. We had grown so far apart, and we never had any communication to start with. And then something very personal happened in my own family, and it put me on a path that was completely different to what I had imagined I would be on. I started learning how to find out who Hazel was. Before that, I was somebody's mother, somebody's wife, somebody's daughter, And now I had to find out, who was I? Who was this person that was born into this world as an authentic human being? But over the years, like with most people, with all the messages we get, that person had basically disappeared and become somebody's, and I hate to say it like this, so please don't take it negatively, but I had become somebody's yes person. I didn't know how to say no. I said yes to everything. But in learning how to change, and I did have to make a lot of changes. I had been taking care of me. Somebody had been taking care of me all of my life. I went straight from a father's house to a husband's home, built a life with a husband, and I was married to him for nearly 25 years, a little longer. We'd known each other since we were actually 13.
Wow.
And we both live here, and today we're friends. At the time, he didn't really want the divorce, so the friendship wasn't as secure. And as I said, we have 6 grandchildren, so I worked very hard on remaining friends. And going through the growth process, I had the opportunity to find out how codependent I was, how it was, I had to do everything for everybody else, and I had to always say yes so that everybody would like me. What I didn't realize was that by doing that, I was demeaning myself, pushing myself down, and I had disappeared. Mm-hmm. So from the time I was, I think I was about 45, I started doing my growth work, and then I discovered when I got divorced that I had to have a roof over my head. And so I needed to get a job because I had walked away from all the financial security I had. And I worked for somebody else, but decided that would not work for me to keep doing that for the rest of my life. So while I was working, I went to school at night for a year, and I got my certification as a master clinical hypnotherapist and stress management counselor. And then I was invited at the end of that year to be on staff at the institute where I had trained. This was all going through a learning process. The whole process was learning, because while I was working with people and helping them, it helped me to grow too. And then after 6 months of working at the institute, or a year, something like that, I was invited to join the practice of a very well-known local psychologist, which I did, and within 60 days I had a full practice.
Wow, that's amazing. So here you are finding yourself, and in the process came into something exactly what you were supposed to be doing, which is sometimes the way the world leads us if we just trust. Do you agree with that?
Right. Well, I have to be honest with you. I'm not even sure at that particular time that I actually trusted.
Right. But you weren't
it was
afraid.
A matter of go with it and hope that everything turns out the way I wanted it to turn out.
What do you think led you down that? I mean, that's an unusual path, going to school to become a hypnotherapist. Do you agree with that?
I guess so. When I look back, yes, because all of my life I had been taken care of. But the one thing that I realized when I was thinking about what can I do, I was trained as a personal assistant. I knew how to type 90 words a minute and take shorthand, but I could not imagine doing that for the rest of my life for somebody else. And virtual assistants at the time didn't exist, or if they did, they certainly weren't known about. Had I known about virtual assistants at the time, I might have gone that route instead. However, one of the things I realized when I was thinking about, well, what can I do, was that people had always come to me with their problems, their challenges. They always wanted my input. And I looked around and I thought, if I didn't want to take 5 years to become a marriage family counselor, which is what I would have had to do. Then I would have had to have gone back to school full time. And truthfully, for two reasons, I couldn't. One was because I needed to work, and one was because I didn't want to go back to school for 5 years. But a year of going to school at night was going to be okay, and becoming a hypnotherapist meant that I was basically a counselor who was a hypnotist, because there's a difference between a hypnotherapist and stage hypnosis. And I really wasn't interested in becoming a stage hypnotist. So I guess it was a little unusual. I was 50 when I did that.
See, that's really brave. I want to tell you that I admire you for taking that step. And the reasons that led you to that step seem so natural now when you look back. But I'm telling you, that was outside of the box, man. That was brave of you.
Well, when I look back, I suppose it was. I don't even look at it anymore, but it's something that I loved to do. My whole life has, especially since then, has been about helping other people, especially women, because I discovered that being very codependent meant as well suddenly being in the single world after being married for 25 years and in a strange country. That was something very, very different for me. So here I was in the world of singles, going through a divorce, having an issue with one of my teen children, and going to school and starting a business, not even knowing if I knew how to start a business. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, 5 years after I opened the office, I discovered I had fibromyalgia, and I was getting 5 migraines a week, and I found that I just couldn't work one-on-one anymore. So in 1997, I was in my I can't remember, slightly past my mid-50s. I researched again, found out about coaching, and I retrained and got certified as a coach and became an NLP practitioner. For those of you that don't know what NLP is, it's neuro-linguistic practitioner. So it means that you change the mind, you change the mindset changes a different way.
Right, because you
Sometimes
alter the path.
Gets in the way.
Is it because you alter the neuron path? Is that?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You alter the neurons in your brain. I couldn't think of the word for the moment.
I hate when that happens.
You alter the neurons in your brain. So while I was closing down my practice and training as a certified coach, I was also coaching people at the same time. Now, as a coach, I could work on the phone. I didn't have to see people in person. So because of that, it was easier for me to do what I was doing. And so I started coaching people, and I built a very successful business. And just so that people know, there is never an age when you can't do something if you truly, truly want to.
I agree with that.
Right. I was 65 when I wrote my book, and I was 67 when it became an Amazon bestseller.
Wow, so it took 2 years. That's brilliant. I mean, I think that I find you very inspirational because as a coach also, I work with so many women that are afraid of change and are afraid to let go of some of security. That's a big fear for us as women. And I did it once too, and it worked out okay. But when I was going through it, it was difficult, although I knew it was the right thing to do. So if you were to give advice to women that knew that they have not found their authentic selves, and this is an